Hey everybody, I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins, and I wanted to talk to you about your most precious asset. That asset is your children. Many of us want to raise empowered children. We want them to be financially responsible. We want our children to become assets in our lives and not liabilities. Well, a child is it's like raising a child is like growing something in a garden. It's like cooking food. If you don't plan with the right recipe, if you don't watch how the food is cooking, you don't pay attention to it, what happens? It burns, or it tastes bad, or it just comes out nasty and rotten if you don't use good ingredients, etc. So with your child, how you raise your child, the things you teach your child about money will determine whether or not your child becomes an asset to your life as you get older, or a liability. And not just an asset or a liability to themselves, but also to other people. So I was asked to make a short series to explain some key concepts behind the idea of raising financially responsible children, or what that means, how you might go about doing that. So I've collapsed it into five key things I want you to remember. I want you to keep these in mind as it pertains to raising your kids to be what you want them to be financially. The first thing you want to do is buy your children assets at an early age. That means stocks and bonds. It means things like maybe some government bonds, and things like that. My grandmother used to buy me CDs and stuff when I was a kid, and I didn't know what CDs were or what bonds were until my grandmother got them for me. And so years later, when I finished my PhD and became a finance professor, now here I am teaching. I've taught thousands of college students and all this other stuff. My grandmother was still a person I would go and talk to about money. Because my grandmother Felicia, rest her soul, loved her to death. She was a single mother who raised five kids by herself and didn't have any help, and basically was always had perfect credit, always had plenty of money in the bank, owned her own car, never had to borrow money from anybody. And I remember noticing how her financial value system was built on principles that were instilled in her at an early age. And so, one thing my grandmother always did was she bought me those savings bonds every Christmas, every birthday. Never got toys from her, didn't get Air Jordans, didn't get all that silliness. She would get me savings bonds. And that actually took me down the pathway of understanding ownership and the accumulation of assets. It also gave me some money when I went away to college. When your child, the minute you know that you're pregnant, is when you want to start preparing your child for their financial future. So buy your children assets early. The other thing that's interesting too is that if you buy your child, stocks or something like that at an early age, they're going to want to track those stocks. They're going to want to look at the stock market and say, "Oh, mommy, I made $10 today," or my shares of Disney did better today," and it'll get them. It'll open the door to other conversations about how money works, where money comes from. So maybe you can bring them to me after a while, and and by the time they get to me, they've already been introduced to these ideas by you, and then you and I working together can educate your kids to prepare them to have a strong financial future.